We can never stop Disney from killing the Muppets. Muppet Vision 3D is out to make room for Monsters, Inc. And though the Muppets are getting a new home as an overlay on Rock and Roller Coaster, people aren't happy. You may have seen the backlash online, so I'm here to explain just why people are so up in arms about the Muppets' big move and why we were never going to keep it from happening anyway. At Disney's fan conference this year, D23, Disney announced that Hollywood Studios would be getting a Monsters, Inc. land complete with a Doors roller coaster. Pretty cool stuff, but this immediately got people real worried about the state of Muppet Vision 3D and Muppets Courtyard. This area of Hollywood Studios is much loved, but also a bit out of date, which made people really worried it was on the chopping block. And Disney's confirmed that it is. In fact, on the chopping block. They've announced that Monsters, Inc. land will be replacing Muppets Courtyard, Muppet Vision 3D, and the concept art even looks like it will be taking out some backstage areas and potentially some parking. Now, the Muppets will be moving to an overlay on Rock and Roller Coaster, which is cool.
Oh, it'll be so fine and laid back and mellow and profitable.
But that doesn't change the fact that there is a massive emotional reaction to this.
Have you tried Hare Krishna?
You might ask, why is there such an emotional reaction to a Muppets movie leaving in favor of the Muppets getting a roller coaster? And the answer is that Muppet Vision 3D was the creator of the Muppets, Jim Henson's final project. For Muppet fans, Muppet Vision 3D is more than just an attraction. It's a piece of Jim Henson's legacy. So you might be wondering, if everyone was already mad about the potential for this happening, why did Disney still follow through? And could we ever have saved Muppet Vision 3D at all? Well before Monsters, Inc. was even a twinkle in Pixar's eye, and even before Pixar was making movies as we know them to today, Muppet Vision 3D broke ground as one of the most ambitious projects that Jim Henson had ever worked on. It was one of the final projects that Jim Henson worked on before his death. He directed the whole thing and it was filmed at a soundstage in Disney. Unfortunately, Muppet Vision wasn't completed before Jim Henson's death, and he never got to see it in its full form. It opened on the first anniversary of Henson's passing in 1991 in Disney's MGM Studios at the time, now Disney's Hollywood Studios. At the time, Muppet Vision 3D had groundbreaking design. It was a blend of 3D film, live action effects, and practical gags that had never really been seen before. It was cutting edge then, and it still delights audiences to this day when it runs in Hollywood Studios. I know, because I'm often in that audience. Delighted. You get to see Kermit, Fozzie Bear, Miss Piggy perform in this immersive environment. It feels like you're really getting to see the Muppets. And of course, it's a rare piece of Henson's Muppets and Henson's vision still alive in the parks today. So why is Disney pulling the plug on a fan favorite that is so historic? Let's talk about how Disney's Hollywood Studios became the park of out with the old and in with the IP. When Hollywood Studios opened, it was actually called Disney's MGM Studios, born of a partnership between the two companies. The theme of the park was about movie making, and the attractions brought you into the world of what it was to make movies. Over time, Disney has added more IP. IP is intellectual property, aka different brands and properties that Disney owns, especially the ones that drive a lot of money.
Cha-ching!
We've seen the addition of Toy Story Land and Star Wars Land come to Hollywood Studios, making the park a little bit less about making the movies and more about stepping inside of them. These IP lands are massive moneymakers. We're talking Toy Story, a film franchise which has so many sequels I've lost count at this point, and Star Wars, which has 3 major trilogies, a kajillion spin-off shows, and has been a strong brand since the 1980s. The Muppets are nostalgic, and many people know who they are, but they just aren't the money-making IP that's so mainstream today. So we heard about Monsters, Inc., one of the most exciting announcements that came from the D23 Expo. This new land is expected to drive higher foot traffic, especially among families. And it's getting a coaster, a Monsters, Inc. Doors suspended coaster, the first suspended coaster that Disney World will have, and what is expected to be an e-ticket attraction. E-ticket being the most popular, foot traffic driving, money driving attractions that Disney has. Muppet Vision 3D isn't an e-ticket attraction. It's an attraction that you can walk up to and see at any point. It's amazing for that reason. A ton of people fit in that theater and it gets crowds out of the other lines in Hollywood Studios, but it simply isn't a driver of people wanting to come to Disney World the way we might like it to be. You might notice that across Disney World, park redesigns are increasingly driven by how relevant a franchise is currently and the projected profitability of said franchise in the parks. Because though Disney would like us to think that it's all about magic, It's actually all about money.
Cha-ching!
And nostalgia can be a big driver of that, but IP is a bigger driver. And fans are furious because this isn't just about a show, it's about Jim Henson's legacy. It's about the Muppets legacy and passing on the love of Muppets that grown-ups have to their kids and their families. Longtime visitors of Disney World have been devastated by this news. Even hearing that the Muppets are getting a coaster, things have been pretty controversial. Some might be plenty happy to see that the Muppets are still going to have a place in Hollywood studios, while others can't get past the fact that we're losing out on such a historic attraction and piece of Jim Henson's legacy. And with their announcement, Disney was careful to acknowledge that they know how people feel about the Muppets and Muppet Vision 3D. Disney's response emphasized the need to stay relevant to appeal to families and new visitors coming to Disney World. But they also acknowledged the fan disappointment and that they love the Muppets just as much as we do. Now, whether that's true, it doesn't change the fact that Disney is going to make decisions based on where the money
Cha-ching!
is. And though diehards really do love the Muppets, broader and younger audiences just don't engage with that IP as much as they do Monsters, Inc. Now, the reason I think Muppet Vision 3D has people so up in arms and is getting so much attention is because it represents a broader struggle that Disney is dealing with right now between innovation and preserving history. We've seen a lot of backlash as well to the fact that Tom Sawyer Island and the Rivers of America will be taken out of Magic Kingdom to make way for a new Cars Land. A similar struggle, innovation or preserving history. Yes, Cars Land will bring more money, but Tom Sawyer Island and Rivers of America are a piece of what made Magic Kingdom what it was. So you can see where the emotions might start to run high. This isn't just about the Muppets, it's about how Disney parks are changing. Are we swapping timeless magic for quick profits that won't ultimately create the same nostalgia in a few years? It's possible. Disney's IP-centric strategy in the modern age has brought about a trend of them creating attractions around already popular franchises like Star Wars and Marvel. This is the big IP conundrum for Disney World. If IP leads to higher visits, then it's hard to make anything that doesn't derive from some sort of major IP. Disney World is a business, after all. So it's possible that the days of things like Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean, IP that was created for the parks, are completely gone. Even the recent Country Bear Jamboree retheme to the Country Bear Musical Jamboree means that we lost some classic, if a little dated, Country Bear songs in favor of Disney IP songs that make the show more relatable to a broader audience. And sure, the Muppets are going over to Rock and Roller Coaster, which frankly, I'm personally very excited about. However, that's a move that's going to make the Muppets even less accessible to younger audiences. So that dream that people may have of sharing their nostalgia and love for the Muppets with their kids, they can't do that as easily by taking them on Rock and Roller Coaster because Rockin' has a height requirement, and it's a coaster that a lot of kiddos don't feel comfortable going on until they're much older, locking the Muppets into that more nostalgia-driven adult audience instead of giving them the opportunity to expand to younger kids, which Muppet Vision did do. And this has been happening for a while. Even back when Michael Eisner was CEO of the Walt Disney Company, we saw a big kick-up in the IP that was seen around the parks. And now more and more rethemes are taking something historic and original to the Disney parks out and putting something in that is based on IP. Take, for instance, the Great Movie Ride, now gone from Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Of course, folks have been up in arms about this strategy for years and years. Think about Maelstrom getting swapped to Frozen Ever After, or even losing Ellen's Universe of Energy for Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. But now, both of those rides are some of the most popular in Epcot. Still, that's not the only reason this announcement is getting some criticism. There are many underutilized areas in Hollywood studios, and a lot of folks are wondering why not take out Animation Courtyard, home to Star Wars Launch Bay, the Disney Junior Dance Party, and a few Disney Junior meet and greets in favor of this change. And we don't really have the answer to that. There could be many, many reasons why Disney has not chosen to do this. It could come down to space, could come down to the buildings that are already there being more stable than the ones in Muppets Courtyard. We have no idea. But that has been a piece of the criticism about this update. I'm running out of locations in my house, so welcome to my kitchen. But for those out there that do love the more nostalgic pieces of the park and Muppet Vision 3D, it's not all doom and IP-driven gloom. There could be some hope for the future. Disney was very careful in their announcement of Muppet Vision 3D's closure that they are currently working on ways to preserve the attraction. Now, this could mean a number of things. Some speculation already is that Muppet Vision 3D will come to Disney+, something that could be accessed from home, and you could watch the 3D show in a 2D format. What my hope is, and what I think that Disney could be considering, is the possibility of a relocation for the show. It is a show. It's not a super involved ride building, so it's possible that they could relocate it to a different theater space around Disney World. The only challenge there is that the Muppet Vision Theater is pretty involved with immersive effects, animatronics, and things like that. So they would need to pretty much completely gut a theater to be able to put the Muppet Vision experience as we know it today into a new spot. And folks are asking for this. A lot of people are suggesting ways that Muppet Vision could get relocated, potentially to the current Lightning McQueen Theater that is right next to Rock and Roller Coaster, soon to be a Muppet-themed ride. Now, Disney has already announced that a villain show is coming to that theater, but this Muppet transition could take years, and it's possible that that relocation could be an option. Of course, it depends on the constraints of the space, which we as fans don't know what the space, budgetary, and tech constraints might be to relocating Muppet Vision. So I am crossing my fingers for a relocation of Muppet Vision 3D, but regardless, it sounds like Disney recognizes the historical significance of Muppet Vision 3D and will be doing something to preserve that history and Jim Henson's legacy in the show. After all, the Muppets might not be as popular as Pixar or Star Wars, but they're still relevant. We can see this with new Muppet shows still being put into production, like the 2023 Muppets Mayhem show on Disney+. So Disney is recognizing that there's potential in the franchise, which can give us a little speckle of hope as well. The concern is we might be saying goodbye to Muppet Vision 3D, yes. But the real question is, are we ultimately saying goodbye to what made Disney parks so special in the first place? What does the closure of Muppet Vision 3D symbolize for Disney parks fans? It's another instance of something historical and nostalgic going away in favor of something that is more money-making and IP-driven. Disney's a business, and being driven by money makes sense, but is this evolution meaning that we're losing what made Disney so magical in the first place? I'm excited for the new Monsters, Inc. brand. I am sad about the loss of Muppet Vision 3D, and I'm intrigued to see what the Muppets will be like on Rock and Roller Coaster and where we see the show in the future. But I do think this shift has Disney fans asking themselves, is the profit-driven evolution of the Disney parks ultimately going to improve guest experiences for years and years to come? Or is it losing out on what made Disney so magical in the first place? If you have thoughts, let me know how you feel about this shift in the comments and drop some love for Muppet Vision. We're gonna have to say goodbye, and I'm not ready. If you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. And if you wanna see me discuss more Disney topics, let me know in the comments too. Thanks, guys. See ya.